Hi everybody and welcome to SA Cricket Magazine. I've got a special guest, Ryan Vrede. Ryan, welcome. We're going to chat about the Cricket World Cup and all things are Rugby World Cup at the moment. This thing has snuck up under the radar. Kind of begs the question, what is the future for 50 over ODI cricket? What is the future hold in store? And more importantly, for this World Cup, who's going to win it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely snuck up on us. I think we've had some big series this year, particularly T20, and we've had the Ashes, which was phenomenal. And this ODI World Cup is kind of snuck under the radar, like you say. And I mean, I'm not sure how much longer this format can survive. Certainly in its current guise. I know there's still some devotees like yourself. I'm on the other side of the fence. I don't know where it fits into the game anymore, but here we are. And yeah, I think once we get into it, it's going to be a really, really good World Cup. I like the format. I like that everyone plays each other once. We're straight into a semi-final and final, and it's done. We've been asking for this for a long time, so the format is good. And I think it's going to be interesting once we get into it.
Yeah, I think that it should be a very competitive World Cup. The reason I say that is that so many players are spending 3 months of the year in India. So they're used to the conditions, used to the food, used to all the things that take a player out of his comfort zone. So I think that makes it more interesting and more competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at a player like David Miller, for example. He spends, like you said, 3 months of the year at the Titans. He averages 95 against spin now. I mean, you look back even 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
That's what you used to average.
My bowling average, yeah. But that was unheard of a South African to average that against spinners. And that's, I mean, I would say that's almost 100% attributable to his time in the IPL. Yeah. And you see that's a trend across all of the different countries and all of the elite batters. So yeah, like it's familiar conditions. Before, India used to be like this kind of almost like this cricket's like undiscovered land. But now it's so familiar to the elite players in the world. They live there. Their families know the place. Yeah. They're familiar with the conditions, and yeah, I think that's what's going to make it a really, really interesting World Cup from a batting perspective, particularly.
Yeah. So yeah, it does make sense. I mean, maybe you build up even an immunity to the Delhi belly. Had that once or twice.
Yeah.
Now, South Africa, I mean, heartbreak kids over the course of many ODIs, World Cups. Do they have a shot this year? Where would you rate them?
Yeah, are we talking my head or my heart? because my heart will always rate them.
Yeah.
But if you're just looking pure cricket terms, if you look at the competition, can they beat England? I don't think so. Can they beat India? I don't think so. And those two are my favorites for the tournament.
Mine too.
Look, they done really well, and I think it is almost like a blessing and a curse. The ODI series against Australia, where they came from 2-0 down to win 3-2, because it sparked that hope in us again, and went like, can these guys do it? But yeah, I can't see them putting together 5-6 wins on the bounce to win this tournament. Whereas I can see India doing that. I can see England doing that. Yeah, they are expected to do that. And even because of, Australia's DNA in this tournament is just like phenomenal. Yeah. And so I can see it side like that, even though they lost 3 against South Africa and went on to lose 2 against India before they got a consolation win in the last game of that series. They just switch on for tournaments like this. I don't think we've got that. We've got a talented side, but I don't think we've got all of the minerals that they have.
No, I mean, like you mentioned, DNA-wise, they are the pedigree, and they expect to win it, but certainly get to the finals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just going back to South Africa again, I don't think they know what their best 11 is at this point. Obviously, they're going to go with like a horses for courses type approach to selection, depending on the wicket they're playing on, conditions, form, etc. But even then, I don't think they know what their best 11 is. You know, when I look at England, for example, I can 12 of their squad prior to the World Cup picked themselves already. And then it was a race for the other three.
And that squad's been developing since 2015.
Right.
You know, they're just so interchangeable. They're a solid team.
More than that, there's consistent form that has come with that team. Whereas, you know, I look at South Africa's pace attack and I think to myself, like, what's our best combination there? I don't really know what our best combination is. Is it a Janssen, Ngidi, Rabada, and Kutsia? Who is our best combination? I don't know what our best combination is. And I think that's reflected in performances and results. And like I said earlier, and the favorites for the competition, India and England, you just kind of know where they're going from a selection perspective, and that has been built over a long period of time.
Yeah. Do you see any surprise? I mean, New Zealand, I think I read from your notes that they've won, 35% of their games?
Yeah,
since
8 of 20.
2018, is it? Or
No, in the 2023 calendar year, they've won 8 of 20 ODIs.
Nice.
So they come into the...
40%.
Yeah, they come into the tournament like undercooked, but they made the last 2 finals, you know. Again, there's something about them. I think that side peaked in 2019. I don't think they're going to replicate that performance now. But from an outsider's perspective, I mean, if you're looking for like proper dark horses, probably Sri Lanka. They got a good spin
attack. Didn't they just lose to Afghanistan in the warm-up?
They did. But if you're looking for proper dark horses, we're going to talk about some betting odds a bit later. Sri Lanka there, South Africa, probably a dark horse. Yeah, those two sides. Bangladesh to a lesser extent. But
they seem to have India's number. Eh?
They do. And Pakistan were ranked 1 in the world coming into just a week before the tournament started. I mean, they've lost Naeem Shah, which is a big loss for them. Yeah. And so, I mean, if you're looking at dark horse money, those 4 are kind of where your money should go.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I don't know enough about South Africa, and I haven't really followed the one-day international season, but I follow anything that's got to do with betting.
Yeah.
And there's some nice bets. I mean, to me, looking at the England side and how many of them play their cricket over there as well, they're just solid to the lineup. They don't have a long tail. They've got all the attributes to at least make another final. So for me, with them being 7-2, I'm going to put a couple thousand on that.
Yeah.
For them to win the tournament.
Yeah, that would be good money. I think for me, they're the most balanced team in the tournament.
Yeah.
Potential to just get off to a flyer. You got Joe Root, you got Milan, you got Ben Stokes, and then you talk about their lower order. Moeen Ali can bat. He batted at 3 in the Ashes at one stage. Yeah. Rashid Khan can bat. Sorry, Adil Rashid. My apologies. Can bat. Chris Wokes can bat. Yeah. They don't have a tail. Like you know. I mean, it depends who they go with at 11. That's probably the only vulnerable batter there, but from a balance perspective, just incredible options to them. You got Karan, who is batted high up in the order in the IPL, and Wokes, like I said, just that team is just phenomenal and imposing.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I think that what we're going to see is a lot of runs in this World Cup. You know, especially with guys used to the conditions. And we're seeing it in the warm-up games. You know, I think Australia, they just win a game 350 or 334 or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's going to become standard. Yeah. I think par for most tracks in India, depending on who you're playing against, par is going to be 280. You know, and the sides batting second, they're going to be. I mean, obviously the dew factor in India is significant. Sides batting second are going to be in with a shout, you know. Yes. Sides, you're going to be looking at scores 280 plus and going, yeah, we're in this.
And if we look at, like for me, I agree with you. England, India final, and I'm going to put a couple grand on both teams. If India win, I get $4 grand back. If England win, I get $9 grand back. So, you know, I don't see anybody else beating them. But for South Africa to progress, they're going to have to win all their games against the peripheral teams, and then sneak a win against a Pakistan or New Zealand.
Right. Yeah, and I don't see that happening. Like I said, they've got a talented team. Their middle order especially, like really distractive. Like if you look at the engine room of Markram, Klaasen, Miller, I think that engine room stands up to some of the elite teams in the world. But beyond that, I don't know what happens. You know,
Bavumba?
He's been a good ODI player. Like I think that's his best format, to be quite honest, and the stats back that up. He's come off injury. You know, he had to deal with some family issues back home. Flew back from India. He's back with the team now. So I'm not sure what mental space he's in. I can't speculate around that because I don't know what's happening. I always hope that he does well. I think he gets a bad rap from
20 games.
Yeah, I don't think it's his format. I think the selectors do him a disservice there. But ODI cricket is his game. So with him and de Kock at the top of the innings, I mean, there's potential there, but that's all it is. It's potential. I don't look at that opening partnership, for instance, and look at Bairstow and Butler or India's opening pair and go like, okay, there's parity there. There's not parity there. The elites are here. The de Kock Pavuma combination is kind of here. On their day, they're good, but there's no consistency in that partnership. So, yeah, I'd love for South Africa to progress, and what you're saying is correct. They can't lose to the Netherlands again, for example. But or they can, you know. Yeah. I don't think they will.
No,
I think this is a different team, different mentality, better coach.
Absolutely no pressure whatsoever on them going into this tournament. It's, like I said, it's so under the radar. And of course, with the Rugby World Cup going on.
They're definitely not the 2015 ODI World Cup team. No. That team just had gun players throughout. And then, or the 2019 team even. That was also a good team. But they're flying under the radar. They can, nobody expects them. I don't think there's going to be any, I don't think it's going to impact the nation in any way if they don't make the semi-finals.
No, but if they get there and South Africa crashing out of the World Cup in rugby, then the pressure will shift a bit.
I think the reality is that if they get to the semi-finals, then that's par for where this team is.
Yeah.
Your expectations set the level of disappointment that you experience, right?
Yeah.
And I think the realistic expectation for this team is that they don't progress past the pool phase. And if they do, they've done really well.
So who's your 4 teams to make the semi-finals?
India, England, Australia, and then there's a toss-up for me beyond that. I think New Zealand makes the semi-final. I think they've got a lot of tools in their shed. And I think for that reason, New Zealand makes the semi-final, but they don't progress beyond there. Those are my 4.
You know, I'm going to pick South Africa and the other 3 teams, Australia and India, of course. And then just hope that anything can happen on the day. But I don't see anything past England and India. I do think South Africa can, again, because the stars are aligning for them. I wouldn't bet on it, but
for interest's sake, what are the odds on South Africa winning?
17-2, I believe. So if you bet 200 Rand, you'll get 1,900 back plus your stake. So let me just see. You've got India at 2-1, Australia at 7-2. England at 7-2, Australia 9-2, Pakistan 17-2, and then South Africa 17-2. So those 2 teams are joint 4th favorites.
Okay.
So, yeah, look, it's worth a punt, I think, maybe to get them into the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
You probably get about 2-1 on that. But look, Sri Lanka 70-1, New Zealand 10-1, Bangladesh 175, Afghanistan 200-1, and the Netherlands 800 to 1. Good money after betting.
You can do some good renovations on your home if you put some money down in the Netherlands.
But who do you like for top batsman?
I don't look beyond Shubman Gill.
Yeah.
Like, phenomenal player. My favorite cricketer in the world at the moment. My favorite batter in the world at the moment. Mm-hmm. In his home conditions, familiar with like the wickets, and his temperament, I mean, is unquestionable. Mm-hmm. He's still a young guy, but he's just a phenomenal player.
He's 8 to 1.
To win the top batsman of the tournament?
Yeah.
Top run scorer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's who else is in the mix there?
Well, I was wondering when you asked me that question.
Yeah, but Gill...
You've got Kohli at 8 to 1, Gill at 8 to 1, Sharma at 17 to 2, so 8.5 to 1, and Warner at 14 to 1. Look, there's no doubt that in order to win, you're gonna need someone who's gonna make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So you can't have a team that doesn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
2 extra games.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And preferably somebody that's going to play in a final.
Yeah.
So you have another bite at the apple.
Yeah.
So, I think Gill is a good choice. I'm going to put $1,000 on him. I'm going to put something down on David Warner, who's been in decent form this year, at 14 to 1. Uh-huh. They've got the pedigree, like you say. A lot of it depends on, you play in Holland, for example. And you want to, if your team goes in, if you've bet on Gill and India bat first, then Gill might be able to put up some runs. He opens the batting, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
So which is crucial as well. Gill's got all the elements for me to win to win the top batting of the tournament. He opens the batting. He's prolific.
Yeah, aggressive. He's got all of the shots. He scores quickly. Yeah,
probably going to play in all games.
Yeah,
right through to the final.
Yeah.
So you couldn't at 8 to 1. He's pretty well priced.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good value.
I'm interested. It's actually interesting that Kohli is up there.
I can't believe he's still. I wouldn't take him at 15 to 1.
Nah. I think he's struggled this year. And consistency is there now. I think he's getting to that stage of his career where his reputation kind of shapes a lot of the perception around what he's going to achieve.
Paying reputational money.
Absolutely. So I was quite surprised to see Kohli there.
And Jimrat Bumrah?
Really good bowler. Really, really good bowler. I think he's right in amongst the favourites. I think the odds probably reflect that as well. He was injured for a while, and for him to come back into the India team is a massive plus for them.
Didn't he?
He did, yeah. But I think his value to India, and also from a betting perspective, is how he operates, how they utilize him. So if there's any swing on offer, Bumrah is getting it with a new nut. If they need to choke in the middle overs, Bumrah is the man to go to there. He's not only a holding bowler in those circumstances, he can actually break partnerships in middle overs. And then as a death bowler, I think he's right up there from a skills perspective with some of the best death bowlers in the format. And so,
on these tracks though, how is a fast bowler or a spinner going to win the top wicket taker?
Look, I think in the game there's a dearth of really world class spinners. If you look around the game right now, there's not really that many world class spinners.
And is that due to the millennial effect of people not wanting to run and do hard work? You weren't expecting that.
That's a whole different podcast. And for the record, I'll be in the same boat as you, same mindset as you as far as that's concerned. But I don't know. I think those guys are so rare. They develop once in a generation. I don't know what the answer to that question is. But if you look Australia, for example, they've got Adam Zampa, who's a really good bowler. But if you look at the world-class operators from a spin perspective over the years, he doesn't stand up to them. I think Adil Rashid, with England. Is a good player, like a really good player. But we've seen guys climb into him if it's not spinning. But you know, those guys are. We've got the brave Shamsi, who's inconsistent, but at his best is a wicket-taking force. Mm-hmm. And we've got Keshav Maharaj, who's my favorite 3-format player in the world at the moment. Of all of the players who play 3-format cricket, he's my favorite. But so I think you could well see a seamer finish top of the pile from a wicket-taking perspective. And again, that speaks to the skills those guys have developed through IPL. In the past, seam bowling India used to be a place that seam bowlers went to die.
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore. The guys have such good skills now. Skill set so broad, their execution so good, that I could easily see a seam bowler finishing top of the pile.
And who'd you
Bumrah's my guy.
Bumrah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bumrah's my guy for much of the same reasons that you mentioned with Gill. How they use him. They use him across the innings.
Yeah.
Whereas, for example, like someone like Rabada in South Africa, excellent bowler, but only used at the top of the innings and at the death. And so, oftentimes, KG doesn't really even finish his 10. I think if you were looking at betting odds for South African bowler, you're probably looking at someone like Maharaj, because there's every chance that they open with him. Even though Markram has been that guy in the past, if they wanted to open with the spinner and get overs out of the way, they've used Markram. And then bowled.
And that's a concern for you with South Africa and its bowling selection.
Yeah, absolutely. If you get a situation where Markram bowls 5 at the top of the innings, South Africa in a really good position. Because now you've eaten our 5 overs in the innings, and you could play an extra all-rounder or extra batter. If Markram can do that for you consistently, 5 to 7 early, consistently, it gives you the option of picking an extra all-rounder or extra batter. Yeah. And then the dynamic changes completely for South Africa.
Which is going to be important on these tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, because Jansen, he's a good player, but he's still finding his way in the international game. His consistency is not quite there yet. You could see what he can do with the bat. He's got massive potential, but he's not quite there yet. Yeah. Now imagine if you're picking Jansen at 7 and you've got another all-rounder coming in at 8. I don't know who that would be, but you got to, or you pick a specialist batsman and you got Jansen coming in at 8. Changes the dynamic of the team, the prospects of their team completely.
Yeah. Look, it should be an interesting World Cup, as they always are. Hopefully that South Africa can get to the quarterfinals, and I think that would...
Semi-final,
Semi-finals,
yeah.
I'm sorry. It would be enough, I think, of an accomplishment if they did that.
Absolutely agree.
And it's like playing with house money then.
Yeah.
So to me, it'd be nice if they do that. For me, I can't look past England and then India. And I like Gill to be the top batter.
Yeah.
And I'm not betting on the bowling. I don't know enough about it. But thanks, Ryan, for sharing your thoughts.
Absolute pleasure.
Best
Excited.
of luck to South Africa in the World Cup.
I agree. Let's hope my heart comes through there rather than my head.
Yeah, we'll have another show in a week's time. We'll update people and see where we're putting our money. Thanks,
awesome.
Man.